right.
All right, man, cheers. Oh wow. This is like spicy.
Yeah, I didn't expect that.
Yeah, it's not karakuchi. It's like spicy. You know.
Yeah, it's like it's definitely got a little kick to it.
Yeah, so I got this one because this is what kuro koji shikomi. So it has like the black koji in it. I don't know what that means, but it's black. It's not white.
This definitely has a very unique taste to it. Yeah.
It's got like a earthy, spicy kind of thing. I like this. This is.
I'll tell you what it like very faintly reminds me of is Jaeger.
Okay, I get that. Yeah,
I don't know. I just get like a hint of Jaeger with this.
No, I get that. Yeah, it's like I get it because it's almost like it almost has a little bit of like that distilled alcohol taste. But this is Junmaishu, so
it just has like a thick spiciness to it. Yeah.
Cool, man.
That's good.
Well, yeah. Fortune Sake Junmai Dry Kanazawa no Jizake. I think that's how you read it. Yeah. So what are we going to be talking about today?
We're going to talk about houses. Buying houses. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you currently live in a house.
I'm renting.
Oh, well. I haven't bought yet. My statement wasn't wrong.
Okay. I live in a house. Yes. I live in a house.
So what's that like? Like, walk me through the process. Because I live in an apartment. I've never gotten a house.
It's good that I don't have to worry about noise from the neighbors.
Okay.
So that's nice. Although in Japan, if you leave the door open, no, not the door open, the windows open, sound travels a lot. And so if you leave your window open and you say something, all your neighbors can hear you talk. So it's almost like living in an apartment, but you're not.
That's interesting.
But yeah, it's a lot more like flexible. You have your space, and like actually the place that we live now is actually like two houses joined together. It's like a row house of 2 units.
Oh, so it's like a townhouse?
Yeah, it's like a townhouse.
Yeah.
And so sometimes I can hear like the footsteps or the shakes of the people in the other unit. But before that, I was living in a totally separate house, and you never had that.
Yeah.
But I would hear like if someone like closed their car door outside, I could hear it, because everything just like reverberates. Like that's one thing that I just don't understand, and maybe someone in the comments can enlighten me on this, but especially in the inaka where you have all this land, you'll have rice fields everywhere, and then one central area where all the houses are crammed together.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
It's so I really noticed that when I went to my wife's hometown in Oita.
Yeah.
So she lives in like the center of the middle of nowhere.
The boonies.
Yeah. So like we went to visit her parents' house, and it's a nice area. I like it, but there's nothing around it. It's just all farmland.
Yeah.
Right. And, we'd be driving in from like Oita City, and it's like a, 20 or 30 minute drive to go to her parents' house. And we'd be driving through all this constant farmland. And I just assumed, because that's how it is in America, you just have farmhouse, farmland, farmhouse, farmland, and it's just copy pasted for however many distance, right? But you'll hit an area where it's just like farm wall, giant housing block.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it was just so weird that like just out of nowhere, there's this huge neighborhood.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, like in America, like kind of like, especially in the Midwest, the flyover states and everything, you have this image of like, you have a farm, then you have a hill, and then there's a house on top of the hill that just has all this land around it. It's funny. So my mom, she's from South Carolina, where things are a lot more spread out. Now, I'm from one of the most densely populated areas of the United States, barring like the big cities.
Oh, really?
Like, yeah, so the Northeast, New England is one of the most densely populated areas. And so like where we used to live, so we actually had a house in like a richer neighborhood, so we didn't see our neighbors from our windows, but the house my dad grew up in, you could, like, if you open up a window on one side of the house, you'd see our neighbor's house, and you'd see the other house, and you could look into their windows. And my mom didn't like that because she felt like there was no sense of privacy with that.
Yeah.
And so her coming to Japan, we're like, you don't just open up a window, you see one house, you see the 4 houses around you. Like, that just gets her. And honestly, it gets to me a little bit too. I want my space,
Yeah. I've gotten used to that. The lack of space doesn't bother me all that much.
Yeah.
For me, the main thing that really bothers me is all the houses look the same.
Okay.
And it's just like, you'll see that in actually newer houses in the US, and I have the same problem with it. It's like, there's like a little bit of variety.
Dude, you should come to where I live.
Yeah.
Like where I live, like people have a decent amount of money. And so like you'll have someone totally redo their house. So it looks really different.
Oh, that's cool.
You know?
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah. Yeah. So where I live now in Yokohama, like it's actually quite rare because of course it's a pretty densely populated area compared to the United States, but there are lots of houses that have a front lawn. It's not a huge one, but it's there.
I wonder if that's just because Yokohama is like so influenced by American culture.
Could be.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm just curious if that's the reason why.
Yeah, I mean, it could be. I like it. We're also in like a newly developed city, so like they have the basic residential block that you can buy is larger than in other places.
Yeah.
But no, I like that, having like a little bit of space between your front door and the road. Yeah. Like I remember being in Japan and just feeling weird about how like the houses felt so close, and the houses I almost felt like a little bit claustrophobic, and I was wondering why. And it's because there's no like front lawn. Yeah. You know, like there's no lawn, and the houses are built up to the borders of the property. So when you open up your door, you have the road right there. Whereas in America, you have this buffer zone of like grass before that, you know?
Yeah.
But then you go on the other side. Housing in America is super expensive now.
I would actually say that's an understatement. Okay. I would say unaffordable.
Unaffordable? Okay.
It's a big problem right now. So inflation has gotten so bad. Well, it's like this. There's this huge thing with inflation and foreign investors, and also a couple of housing companies that work together to buy up all the housing in the US. And so, first of all, inflation is so bad right now that I think in the past, 50 years now, salaries haven't increased.
Not too much, yeah.
Right? But the cost of living has. So things are really expensive in America right now, especially right now. It's really famous if you go to McDonald's, right? When we were kids, they had the dollar menu.
Yeah, the dollar
menu.
You
can get a double cheeseburger, a large fry, and a soda for $3.
Yeah.
Right? That would cost $15 now.
Yeah, it's $15 now, yeah.
Yeah, which is insane.
Yeah.
Right? And everything else is increased in price to match that.
Yeah, the thing that got me too when I went back in the winter, just like a couple months ago, is like how expensive eggs are now. Like, because when I was growing up, if you wanted to get the really nice, super high class eggs, they were $3 for a dozen. Now that's like the base. Yeah, the cheap things are if you want to get the really good eggs, it's like $6 or $8. Yeah. What happened?
I mean, my sister just picked the good decision. Now she just has 30 chickens. Yeah. And just gets her own eggs. Yeah. But it's insane how expensive things are. And so basically the inflation's gotten really bad. Foreign investors. So right now it's really popular for Chinese people because the Chinese middle class is pretty wealthy right now. And they want to go spend time in the United States and Canada and places like that. So they'll go over there and they'll buy places and, maybe they'll only use the place a month out of the year. Yeah. And so they'll buy that. And then that home will be unavailable for people living there. So that's going on right now. Another thing right now is there's a few housing companies in the US that have merged together to purchase the majority of vacant homes in the US.
Oh, really?
It's actually a huge problem right now. And so what they're doing is instead of those homes being put up on the market for purchase, those homes are being rented out or treated as Airbnbs. And so what that's resulted in is the cost of purchasing a home is just unaffordable for people our age.
Because you have these big corporations that are buying up all the houses, and they have more money, so they can pay higher prices. You know.
Yeah, exactly, and it's disgusting. It's sad. Like, out of my friends that I went to high school with, one of my friends moved to Brazil.
Yeah,
he retired from the military and got out and moved to Brazil, and man, that guy is living it up.
Yeah.
He's got like his retirement check is like $5,000 a month, and he's living like a king in Brazil.
His retirement check's $5,000 a month.
It's not entirely from the military. He's a really smart guy. He did some really good investments way back in the day.
But his income's $5,000 a month.
But his income's $5,000 a month, and like I said, I just actually talked to him the other day. I was like just checking in. I haven't talked to him in like a year, and he's just like, yeah, dude, we have like basically a mansion here, and my daily income's like $5 a day. Yeah. I'm just like, or my daily expenses are like $5 a day, and I'm just like, dang, did I make a mistake? But yeah, out of my high school friends, it's only him. He's the only person who actually purchased a house. All my other friends are either still in apartments at 34. I've got a couple of them actually living with their parents still. And one person's renting a house, but it's a share house.
Okay.
You know, and you know, it's like, you may say, well, Austin, maybe your friends are just losers. Like, well, maybe, but you know, one's an engineer, the other is a physics major. You know, it's like, these are people who have talent. Yeah,
they have the education.
They have the education. It's like, they just can't live on their own.
Yeah. So one thing so you and I, we both talked about how we watched a documentary on how houses are becoming so unaffordable now. And I think, you know, I watched this one video about how Japan is like one of the most populated cities in the world, but there's no housing crisis here. Yeah. Whereas like in New York and Los Angeles, there's a big housing crisis. And the big thing that they were talking about is that the way that people see housing is fundamentally different, because in the States, your house is an asset that grows in value. Whereas in Japan, your house is a liability that decreases in value. And for the average Joe in the United States, they may not invest in the stock market. They may not save too much, but they pay their mortgage, invest into their house because they believe their house is going to increase in value over time. Yeah. And what that does is that just inflates the price of housing as time goes on, you know? Yeah. And I feel like that's another big thing that is causing the housing crisis in the United States, because people don't see the houses as a place to live. They see it as like an investment. Yeah. You know? Yeah. No, I definitely agree. Yeah. There's also another thing that, like, if you look at the history of, you know, housing in Japan, primarily like going back to the 1980s, back when, like, right before like the bubble bursts here. Yeah. There were economists predicting that the population of Tokyo was going to reach 100 million by like 2006 or something. Wow. Which obviously didn't happen. But so housing companies here specifically in Tokyo, but kind of across Japan, like just way overbuilt housing, like apartments, houses, you name it. They way overbuilt it, but then the economy burst and they were predicting like all these people flocking over, like wanting to live in Japan. It never happened. And so what ended up, you know, going into like the late 80s and the 90s and, you know, now in 2000s, there's just an abundance of available housing. And, you know, it's not the only reason why housing is so cheap here, but it's definitely a big reason is just there's just so much available housing that there's not a reason to increase. Yeah. But also I feel like, so like in America, there are lots of old houses, whereas in Japan, an old house is very undesirable, and so people are constantly tearing down houses and building up newer houses, you know, like so I used to live in Musashi Kosugi, right? And around where I lived, there were still like houses built out of like sheet metal, you know, the corrugated sheet metal. Yeah, I mean, you know? It's crazy how common it is. Yeah, but those houses are getting torn down, and now you're getting like mansion apato being built instead, you know, multi-unit housing, you know. Yeah. But it goes back to this whole thing of it's like, well, our housing is decreasing in value. So let's build a new house that has a higher value and try to sell that,
Yeah.
But I feel like, so because of that, because in Japan, like houses are depreciating assets, right? They lose value over time, whereas in America, they build value over time. I feel like there's more of a push to make your houses more comfortable in the United States, whereas in Japan, it's like, in 30 years, we're going to have to tear this baby down, so don't invest too much.
Yeah.
And like, I love Japan. I wish I could have an American house in Japan.
Yeah. I mean, like one of the real key things that I think you'll really notice, like between houses here and houses in the US is like renovations.
Renovations, yeah.
You just don't see that here.
Yeah.
Like my sister's house is heavily modified from when they first bought it. And like the house I grew up in, like one of the first things my parents did was like replace the deck, fix up like different areas. I mean, sometimes like people will add rooms onto houses and stuff. There's there's so much modification.
Yeah. Like you'll add full out rooms or like you'll build it out. Yeah.
Yeah. There's so much modification to American houses. It's like but when you come here, it's like you have your house and that's it. Yeah. And then you just make do with how that looks. And if you don't like that, then you build your own house. Yeah. But when you build your house, it's like, that's it.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Like that's really interesting thing. Like you don't really think about adding additions to houses so much here. So another thing, let me ask you, did you ever paint a room in your house?
All the time. My mom won't stop painting rooms. Yeah. It used to drive my dad crazy when we were young.
So it's funny because so like when Natsumi and I first got married and so just a little bit of background. So the house that we lived in at the time was my dad's childhood home, which was actually a duplex. Yeah. It was 2 addresses in one building that my grandfather owned and he rented out the bottom floor. Okay. But then he just stopped renting out the tenants and we lived down there for a while. But there was a room up on the 3rd floor that was going to be Natsumi and my bedroom when we came and stayed over. And we got to paint the walls. Okay. We painted the walls a nice color. Yeah. And Natsumi was like, "Oh, this is so fun. I've never painted a room before. I can't believe you guys do this. We would never have someone do this." And it's kind of like common knowledge that, hey, you'll paint it yourself because why would you pay someone to do something you can do yourself?
To be fair though, most of the rooms in Japan are wallpapered.
That is true. Yeah.
I mean, if you look at this room, like this room's wallpapered.
Yeah. This room's wallpapered. Yeah. And this is actually painted, but the rest of it is wallpapered.
Oh yeah, that is painted. But the rest of it's painted, right?
Yeah. Or wallpapered. Yeah.
But yeah, it's like, I don't know. It's like just kind of having a little bit of agency over the place that you live is kind of cool.
Yeah. So like, I feel like now there's more of like a DIY movement of like, hey, let's fix up things in your house. But like my dad now in the place that we live, because they've moved since then, the place that they live in, my dad's thinking about getting a whole new deck on our house. He's also thinking about putting a new floor on our house. So now we're like a 1-floor house. He's thinking about putting a 2nd floor on the house. And it's like, that's like in Japan, you just tear down the house and just rebuild it, Yeah, just that kind of like aspect of how houses are more like temporal in Japan, whereas houses are forever in the United States kind of thing.
Yeah, it's definitely you're just like adding stuff on. Yeah. I'll tell you something that I fell in love with. So you mentioned how like, farming communities in Japan are kind of like all just clumped up in one big neighborhood. There's so down in Shonan, there's this like little town called I think it's Tsujido Sustainable Smart Town. Okay. And basically it's this like, do you know what a smart town is?
No, what's that?
Okay, so a smart town is a town that's like built to be like economically like eco-friendly, I guess. So the outer perimeter is all surrounded by solar panels.
Really?
And so that's supposed to sustain all of the power sources in the town. Right? And then the center of the town is this really, I gotta take you down, man. You would love this place.
Yeah.
But the center is this shopping / telework / library / like daycare. It's all, and restaurants are mixed in too. And it's all just mushed into one where you're walking through the store, and you know how like if you're walking in a mall, like the shops are all next to each other, but you see the name of the shop and you enter the shop, right? That's how shops work.
Yeah, right.
Here, it's not like that. You're walking from one room to another and you don't even know you've entered another shop. It's just like one room will be books and the next will be like children's toys and stuff. And it's really cool. So that's the center of town. And then built all around this town in a circle are houses. And that's it. And it's like the idea is like everything in the center you can have delivered to your house. Your house is hooked up to like a smart network that like you can order like eggs and milk and like have that delivered in the morning from the local store. Like all the stores are like locally sourced, like from farms around the area. So it's like they have this huge push for like organic foods and everything. And I went there and instantly just fell in love with it. And so I really want to live there in the future. That's kind of like my future goal. But
that really sounds like Ebenezer Howard's Garden City model, and also kind of like what Walt Disney wanted to do when like before he died. He wanted to build Epcot, and he built it where he wanted to build it where like it was going to be a city, not just an amusement park, but it was going to be like the commercial center would be in the center. Yeah. You'd have like a green ring around, and then you'd have like the residential area, and then another green ring of all the parks and stuff. Yeah. And it was very efficient because like everything was centralized in that one place, and you could easily deliver stuff. And to be honest, so like maybe it's because I'm like super American or whatever, but I've always been like, yeah, I should decide for myself. I want to decide things on myself. I want to be free. I don't want to have like these planned neighborhoods and stuff, but I live in a planned neighborhood right now. Yeah. And it's nice. Yeah. I like it.
Yeah. It's like, look, I get it if you want to live in like this big, like wide open space place, but like, here's the thing. We got to think about like the future of the planet. Yeah. Right. And I think it's a time where people need to stop like thinking in God, I feel like I'm just going to turn into a hippie now. Yeah. but people need to stop being a little bit like selfish, and we need to start thinking as a community. Yeah. Like, are we going to get rid of amenities? Yeah. Hell no. Yeah. I like eating the foods that I eat. I like doing the activities. Like, I don't want to stop eating meat. Screw that. Yeah. Okay. Well, if we don't want to give this up, how can we live in a more efficient way? And I think these like smart towns are the way to do it. Yeah. And so like this smart town, I think it's a relatively new thing, but I did a little research on it, and they're starting to pop up everywhere in Japan.
Oh, really?
Because there's just a lot of space in Japan. Like people don't actually think of Japan as having space, but there's a lot of space here. Okay. It's just not used. Okay. Right. And so like these towns are cropping up in areas where it's like, the property's relatively cheap, and maybe they're kind of far away from like, central transportation nodes, but there's telework areas. So you don't need to travel to work.
Now with telework, you can work anywhere,
Yeah. And, all of the amenities that you would need and you would need to travel for are put in the center of the town. Yeah. So it's like the idea is like, you don't need to leave town if you don't want to. Yeah. Right. You don't have any of your needs outside of this area.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like so in the United States, we have a huge homelessness problem, especially on the West Coast. Oh God. Your guys' homelessness problem is out of control, man.
To be fair though, y'all ship the homeless over to our side, so
Boston has very few homeless people.
Yeah, it's because it's cold as hell in Boston.
Yeah, that is true. People do die in the winter over there, but
no one dies in the winter in California.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's why everyone's there. And also, California is really nice to homeless people. But like that's a big thing about like the homelessness issues. Like it's very easy to build a community like that, or to build like you're always building new houses. But in the States, going back to like your house is an asset, and people don't want their house to lower in value, and so you have like the NIMBY people, not in my backyard, because like in America, your house is a certain value, but if you have certain things around your house, it can potentially reduce the value of your house.
Yeah,
so your investment goes down. So people don't want to do that.
Yeah.
So what's the name of the neighborhood in Seattle that's right to the west of the U District? It's like
Green Lake?
No. Like it's between Green Lake and U District. It's called like Woodland. Like
Woodland Park.
No. It's not the park. There's like this area. I forget what it's called, but it's like on the way to Green Lake. You have to pass through. A lot of buses pass through. But anyways.
Lake Forest.
Lake Forest is another one. So we can talk about Lake Forest. But yeah.
Okay.
So like all these places, right? There's single unit houses.
Okay.
That, you know, technically they could be combined into like a multi-unit like condo complex, and that would make more sense. But then people's housing units would reduce in value, so they don't want to build those things. So you have these committees that are like, no, don't build these things, which causes like the housing crisis in the United States. Whereas in Japan, it's like, hey, my house is losing value anyways, so why not?
Yeah.
And you can build all these things, you know. So I'm kind of conflicted because I feel like because, you know, houses in America are more of like an investment. People will invest a lot more into their houses, so the houses look nicer. They have more like they're more comfortable. Whereas in Japan, things are cheaper, and but they reduce in value, so there's a lot more flexibility in what you can do. There's not as strict laws, and you have a lot of mixed use housing. You know, so like. You know, of course, you have suburbs in Japan. I live in a suburb in Japan, but I also live really close to like a ton of supermarkets and shopping areas. Like everything's walkable. Whereas in the States, to protect that land use value, you have the zoning laws that just keep things really rigid.
Yeah, like the concept of being in walking distance to any form of like shopping centers.
Yeah.
Unheard of.
Yeah.
Like unless you're in the city.
Like if you were in the States and then like, let's say you had like a 3-floor house and you decided to turn your first floor house into a restaurant. No one would be okay with that.
Nope.
Because it would like lower the value.
I mean, that actually is illegal.
That's illegal now. Yeah.
Like, yeah, it's like, but you'll see that here. Like a really common thing is like right near our place, there's like my dentist that I go to is like a 2-minute bike ride. Yeah. And it's literally just attached to the dentist's house.
Yeah, right.
The dentist just lives in where he works.
Yeah.
So it's like,
it's super convenient because all this stuff is close to you. Yeah. But like, I don't know why I know why, but like, it's more rigid in the United States, you know?
I hate it. I wish I love how housing is here.
But if I were to build a regular house here, and I'm thinking about this because I'm after I get permanent residency, I'm really thinking about buying a house or building a house here. Yeah. Like the things that I'm most concerned about are insulation. Yeah. Because my house gets so cold in the winter right now. I don't want that.
Well, another problem with like insulation is it's very expensive. Yeah. Like, I mean, your heating bill or your electrical bill goes up by like 2 to 3 mon in the winter. And I mean, and in the summer too, using the AC. So it's like insulation can be very expensive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so I don't know. So like it's more expensive to build insulation, but then it saves you on your electric costs later on.
I think insulation's like more expensive up front, but I think over time it's significantly less expensive than not having insulation.
Yeah. Like one thing that I really miss, you know, about when I go to my parents' house is like
central heating.
Yes. Cause like in the winter, cause I was just there in the winter. Yeah. When I open the door to my room and I go into the hallway and I go to the bathroom, it's all the same temperature. But then here it's like I open the door. Holy shit, it's so cold.
Dude, I got so I live in a 3 LDK right now. Yeah. My apartment's actually pretty big. I really like my apartment, but we only have one like air cone unit. Yeah. And so during the summer it's not that bad because I've got windows and I've got 2 balconies. Yeah. But during the winter right now, it freaking sucks because I have my heater. It's like right next to my bedroom. So it's warm. Yeah. However, my toilet is on the other side of the apartment. Yeah. So I have to walk through 2 hallways to get to this toilet.
Yeah.
And there's a door that goes into my kitchen, and we usually keep this door closed. And then if you open this door to open the hallway to go to the next like area where the toilet is, it's like sub-zero.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Like even this morning, you know, I went to like, so like the way that we live, so we have like a 3 LDK that we're living in right now. And on the LDK, there's like the area with the genkan, and the toilet is right by the genkan area, right? And we have like a omutsubako. We have like a diaper genie for that. And so like my wife changed one of my son's diapers, and I went to go put the diaper in the diaper genie. So I had to open the door, go in the hallway, open the door to the toilet, put it in, and come back. And nuts me, like in those 10 seconds, she's like, "Asa samui yo," because all the cold air from the hallway was coming into our room, you know? And it's like, I feel kind of bad because so I understand energy is expensive here, and I understand that like houses are very underpowered when it comes to electricity. Like our place is like 40 amps, and like my parents' house in the United States, which isn't much bigger than ours, is like 200 amps. Yeah. You know, it's like completely different. But I feel like we might even be spending more energy just trying to heat up the whole place because we have to run the AC
constantly.
Yeah. Man, so we talked a lot about houses. Was there anything else you wanted to talk about?
No, I think we pretty much hit it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's like housing is kind of the next step here. And the cool thing about housing is it's not that it's really cheap in Kanto. I mean, you can get free houses here in Japan because if you really want to go out in the in the countryside, but it's affordable here. Yeah. Like I can set a goal in my life and go, okay, I want to own a house in the next 5 or 10 years. Yeah. And that's a very achievable goal.
Also, mortgage rates are so cheap here.
Yeah.
You know?
So, but if I were to do that in the US, like, no.
Yeah. Well, it's like,
if I lived over there, I think I could confidently say that I don't think I would ever own a house.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, you know, now, like, what is it? So in Japan, like the mortgage rates interest is like 0.5%, 0.7%. Yeah. In the States, it's like 4%, 5%, 6%. That's huge, man. Yeah. You put hundreds of thousands of dollars extra on the house when you're paying back on it. So yeah, it's just, I'll probably buy a house here. I just wish I could have an American house in Japan.
That's fair.
Yeah. All right, man. I'll talk to you next time.
Yep. See you.